Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final panel of the day. We've got four terrific panelists for you talking about a very, very important subject. We've had great interaction during the day, lots and lots of questions coming in. So as this is the last session, this is your last chance to ask those questions. So keep those questions coming in and we will fire them at the panelists. And as I say, we're going to be talking about building an effective digital marketing strategy. And our first panelist, who is a real expert on this subject, is Heather Margolis, and she's the CEO and founder of Spark Your Channel. She spent several years in channel programs and marketing for big brand tech companies like EMC, EqualLogic, and Dell. She launched Channel Maven Consulting in 2009, and that's a marketing consultancy company, and Spark Your Channel in 2019. She had high school jobs, including a hardware store and an auto body shop. So if your car needs mending, Heather's your gal. And she once met LL Cool J on a flight. And she also lived in Mexico as a toddler. So Heather, tell us a little bit about Spark Your Channel.
I mean, I forget who gave you those fun facts, but thanks, Rod. Thanks for that. Spark Your Channel is a through channel marketing automation and sales enablement platform that allows you, the MSP, to come in, grab a great piece of content like a video or a webinar or a podcast, and very simply bookend it so that you can put your intro and outro. It renders in a trackable link. You can put that wherever you would like. Your vendors have the benefit of seeing how many clicks you're getting, but they're not seeing your private data and your leads. So sparkyourchannel.com, and excited to be part of this panel. Thanks, Rod.
Excellent. And our second panelist is Guru Murthy, and he's the CEO of Virtual Tech Gurus. And Virtual Tech Gurus is involved in cloud tech services and infrastructure analytics products. He's developed the channel and digital marketing strategy with automation and tools to triple sales leads during the pandemic time. He's a proven business leader who drives with strategy, process, tools, and a people approach to create long-term results. He's also the father of two girls and loves to spend time with the kids during their tennis matches, and he's looking to start his farming hobby in 2021. So, Guru, I have to ask, what type of farming?
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. Hope you all can hear me okay. So I just want to make sure.
We can now, yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So anyway, so a little bit of introduction about VTG. It's like Virtual Tech Gurus is a consulting firm, which started doing more on the managed services and also helping the customer on the data center transformation. I didn't realize that, Heather, you're coming from Dell and EMC technologies. Actually, we help a lot of EMC and Dell customers to consult and bring the real value to the end customers. So with that, we developed we kind of took the same approach like what we do in the marketing on the products on the infrastructure side, take the data-driven approach. We took the data analytics from different tools in which we developed a product which helps the customer to reduce the cost, optimize their infrastructure, as well as make their cloud transformation much faster, much quicker in a cost-effective manner. So, which is something taking up really well. And also one thing when we are running the show and Rod mentioned, we always have very limited sales and marketing budget. So we are forced to do more invention around the digital marketing, which is something helped us to, invent and creative and get things going. And I know happy to be part of this panel and, looking forward to share my experience with you all.
Okay, fabulous. And our third panelist is Scott Anderson, and he's the Chief Marketing Officer for Intermedia. And Scott's career spans 25 years in B2B marketing, companies ranging from CNN International to Hewlett-Packard, so quite a wide span. He's been named a top digital and B2B marketer by several industry organizations. And his favorite assignment was building Paul McCartney's digital library and website, and actually touring with Paul for 2 years. So tell us a little bit about Intermedia and just a tiny bit about Mr. McCartney.
I will. So Intermedia is a channel-first cloud communications company. We're a provider of business phone systems, voice over IP, chat, video conferencing, contact center email, file sharing. We have a unique model for MSPs where you own the customer and we support you. I've been doing digital marketing forever, and Paul McCartney was by far the funnest assignment. I helped him build his digital library, his website, and the best part was it required us to look at old Beatles pictures where he would always tell stories about what was happening. And that was, as a music guy, it was a dream come true. Very cool.
Fabulous. And our final panelist is Trevor Williams, and Trevor is the Global Director for Cloud Service Providers for Hitachi Vantara. And he successfully grew Hitachi's cloud partner revenue from 129 million in 2018 to 150 million in 2019. He modernized Hitachi's approach from being a sell-to organization to a much more collaborative strategic partner organization. He's an undergraduate, studies at Brunel University, postgraduate education at Kingston University in London, and he enjoys cycling and is an avid skier. So, Trevor, tell us a little bit about Hitachi Vantara.
Yeah, so as an organisation, as you mentioned earlier, we were involved very much in building private clouds for our clients who wanted their own on-premise solutions, and really what we wanted to do is change the organisation into being more of a collaborative company, particularly in areas around cloud, because there's some parts of our business would see ourselves competing against our service provider partners. But it's really about having foundational change inside the organization to ensure that we'd encourage our sales guys to bring our service provider partners into their accounts to execute on their behalf. And we successfully done that. So essentially, we became the arms dealer to many service providers who are able to enable their own organization to take solutions to market, whether they're doing things like digital transformation, IoT, analytics, and take those solutions and build on top of those solutions and sell those solutions outbound to their own customer base. So, and that's really where our growth came from, and we've been very successful in doing that, and we continue that success. Where do we go from there? We're still looking at new and innovative ways of building new solutions, particularly around the post-COVID world. There are a number of opportunities that we're building right now, particularly in the oil and gas sector down in Houston, funnily enough, around IoT and thermal imaging and testing. So some really exciting technology that we're bringing to market, but through our partners to execute on our behalf. And that's the real significant element of this, is really moving our business to become more of a collaborative model.
Excellent. So before we get into the questions, and as I say, we've had fabulous questions all the way through the day, and let's keep those coming. I want to run a poll just to get an idea of where everyone on the call is at the moment. So if you click on the poll button on the top right, what is your biggest challenge in building an effective digital marketing strategy? Just simply the move to digital marketing, understanding which digital marketing strategies will work for my business, finding and affording digital marketing staff, or a lack of help from my major vendors, or other. So if everyone could please pull down that poll and click on the appropriate answer, please pop those answers in now. The poll will refresh itself periodically. Okay. So give it a couple more seconds, get those answers in. And leading by a mile is understanding which digital strategies will work for my business. And I wonder, Scott, if I can bring you in to comment on that. I think it's a challenge for all MSPs. There appears to be so many opportunities out there. How do I hone in on the ones that are right for me?
It's a really broad question. I think there's two parts to it. One is first the right content, and that's really important, especially for MSPs who are supporting your customers. And you may realize that since the COVID virus came in, what your customers cared about back in February may be different than it was in March, and may be different than what it is today. Be the expert and understand what your customers care about and deliver good information to them. The next part then is choosing the channels to get access to either acquiring new customers or communicating with your existing customers. And there's a lot of easy ways to do things. So one is through videos. You've got your iPhone. You can even video yourself if you have great content and be part of YouTube. Engage in social conversations. We have Facebook channels and Twitter and Instagram and all those things, LinkedIn. And then email. It's really easy to get low-cost email packages and building a database of not only prospects, and we've got quite a broad database of our own prospects, but of your customers so that you can keep them engaged and grow business is very important. And then final one I'll throw on here is webinars. So we were talking earlier that in the past with the marketing mix, part of the marketing mix was going to a show in Las Vegas or doing a road show. And now we're doing this, where we're having panels that are virtual. We're doing webinars. It's very easy to be able to either be part of webinars where potential customers exist or your current customers, or throw webinars or panels to engage with your customers. So I guess the most important part of the digital strategy is understanding what your customers and your audience care about, what you're an expert in, how to package up content, and it might just be your expertise that you're delivering every day, and then think about the channels that are the channels of engagement by your audience and how to pull those together. It's easier than you think.
And Heather, do you want to come in on that one?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing to realize is, yes, as we've all talked about and we will be talking about, there are so many different things that you can be doing. Just take note of where you are today and don't look at, engaging on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and doing a bunch of your own content and doing an account-based marketing plan or a retargeting plan. Don't look at that and say, this is all so incredibly overwhelming, I'm just not going to do anything. Take note of where you're starting and just get yourself that little bit better. So if today you don't really have much of an online presence, make sure that you and your other executives have a profile on LinkedIn that is complete, that you have your public profile link updated, that maybe you've sent out some content or you've posted some relevant industry relevant content. And then just start connecting with your current customers and prospects and just keep the conversation going. If that's all you do today, that's great.
Excellent. Trevor, do you want to come in with some thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I'll just mirror in what everybody else has said here. But I think, for everybody in this room, you are usually the experts in your field. Spend some time figuring out not just what your value proposition is in terms of an easy to understand and easy to consume messaging construct. Sit down, write a white paper, right? Get and articulate your whole messaging in a couple of pages of white paper. You'd be surprised the number of people who will sit down and read that information, who absorb that information and potentially use that information themselves to leverage some of the activities that they're doing. And then use some of the vehicles that you have, whether it is LinkedIn, whether you're using InMail, or whether you want to use, we were talking earlier about a webinar and make relevance to the white paper that you have, and then follow up on that white paper. Did you see my white paper? Make reference to that white paper when you're reaching out to your audience. There is a web link there where they can download your white paper as an example. As I said before, it's very easy, if you're a subject matter expert, to sit down for a day or two and just craft out that document and then use that as a lead in one of your campaigns. People always want to read extra insights into what you think the market is looking like or your sector of the business is looking like. So don't underestimate yourself there.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Trevor. And I've got questions starting to come in. I've got a question from Bill. Everybody says be helpful, don't sell. Can the panel please give examples of this? How do you do that? Guru, I don't know whether you want to come in on that one.
Sure. I think it's same thing, right? Like when we walk into like any stores, we don't want to be sold. I think like we want to be educated. I think that's one thing. I'm glad you put me on spot there, which is a good thing. I always, even our salespeople, I don't use the title like account exec or sales, like director of sales. I use them as a solutions consultant. I think the key is, we had to listen to the customer pain points. We had to understand like what they're looking for. So then we had to be addressing it. I think just adding to that, I think what digital market strategy is going to work for. I think the important thing is understand your buyer persona, what your customer is looking for. Then you bring your value proposition into this. Then you're creating a solution for the customer. In these days, that's why you see more and more companies are going towards software as a service, like more like as a service, like model, like they want like spend like time, money on like on a time like a monthly basis. So that means customers looking for more for solutions than selling your products. Many cases, our salespeople go there, like they don't talk about product. They just ask them what are the pain points, what's their problems are. Then they address solution. In some cases, customer appreciates that, like, some of them you may not able to solve all of them. You partner with other companies, you bring the partners in to help them. So it's all about solutioning. It's not about like selling what you have.
Excellent. And Scott, if I can bring you into this one, don't sell, be helpful. The other word that I think everyone hears is authenticity. Can you give examples of the sorts of things for the people on the call they should be communicating?
I have a great example. So back in March, when everybody all of a sudden went home and we had businesses that were focused on business continuity, but all of a sudden their employees had to work from home to keep them safe. There was a so our company is a cloud communications company. So we have the tools to be able to work from a remote office, and we do it all the time. We shifted gears really quickly to being able to help our customers and our partners to work remotely. So we massively wrote these blogs like how to work remotely, how to manage a remote worker, how to run a video conference that a lot of our customers hadn't run before, how to look good in a video conference. It's things like don't have a fan going on behind your head, which I do here. And we put all these out and we put together a kit to help our customers. And we also opened up a free offer for video conferencing because a lot of our customers and our audience in general all of a sudden needed access to video conferencing and they didn't know what to do. So there's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. And in that instance where the business world was looking for help, we recognized that we had an expertise and it was just about helping them out. That created loyalty for us. It attracted a lot of new customers, and it worked very well. I would say, just very quickly, for MSPs, a lot of you are managing your customers' technology. So now all of a sudden they're trying to figure out how to run a business. They're a pizza place, and now people can't come in to buy pizza, or a retailer or something else. There's a lot that I think you have to offer that you can share with your customers about what technology is needed to thrive in this new environment. That's authenticity.
Excellent. And Heather, do you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I love this one, Bill. I've been saying this for almost 2 decades. Whether you do it with us or you do it with somebody else, I just want to make sure you're doing it right. So that was me giving away free consulting and making sure that it wasn't a sales point. So I'll take a phone call with anyone for 30 minutes to help them with their partner communications or through partner demand gen. Because even if right now isn't a good time for them, in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, when they are looking to work with someone, or maybe they went to my competition and realized that that was not the move they should have made, we end up building that relationship. And that, to me, I'm not in it on a quarterly basis. Like, I don't have a quarterly quota. I want to ensure that my reputation is positive and that people want to do business with me and with my team.
Excellent. And Trevor, any thoughts? One of the big challenges for a lot of people when it comes to this is they've had to make a move to digital marketing. They've traditionally been involved in face-to-face events. This is a whole new discipline. Where do you find the resources to enable you to do that?
I think in terms of, I always believe that you have to go and look back in time as well in terms of what you were doing before and and what you need to do to plan for the future and plan for these downturns. So to me, it's about foundational. It's about making sure that your data that you have, we all talk about reaching out to your clients. We all talked about, email campaigns. We've all talked about, getting your blog or your video out there. But I think as someone said earlier, it's account-based marketing. It's making sure that the targets that you are aiming at are the right fit. I mean, you can throw a whole load of mud against the wall. Some of it will stick, right? And the good thing about email campaigns and those things is, it's an email campaign and it can go to all and sundry. But really what you want to do is you want to know that your message is getting out to the right people. So that's why I would say you have to go back to your foundational stuff, where you have to go through your data. You have to analyze it. It may be boring. It may be really mundane, but just going through your data and understanding your data and understanding your audience, understanding your target suspects and targets out in the market is a good exercise to go through. And there's a load of analytical tools out there that you can use to actually target and kind of mix and match the type of solutions that you're looking to offer out there. But I think sometimes it always comes back down to the old Excel pivot table, for me at least anyway, where I can start to slice and dice the type of targets that I'm aiming for and use that as the basis of the campaigns that we would take out into the market. We're going through this right now. And, I have, 10,000 lines of an Excel spreadsheet, and everything is essentially gone back to to a pivot table. But that's really based on a lot of the foundational work that we've done 2 or 3 years ago to enable us to ensure that the data that we're pulling in has some kind of context and meaning.
Excellent. Okay. And how do you drive, if you look at, I've got a limited budget, I want to drive that digital demand. What are a couple of fairly cheap and easy things that people can do? Guru, if you can come in on this one.
Oh, thank you. I think like just adding to that, I think you got to get your straight and value proposition straight. Once you have that straight, there are a lot of great tools out there. I think I was going to say, I think like the previous question you were asking, like where you can find like your marketing staff. I think like I'm finding a lot of $100 per month like marketing resources. Like they can do probably like 24/7, which is like a lot of automation tools and things like LinkedIn Sales Navigator is an amazing tool where you can search like based on it, as long as you understand buyer persona, and also if you understand what's your value proposition, if you understand who are the influencers are, it's easy to find from Sales Navigator. And also tools like Outreach, which does like amazing job of, I know a lot of people are used to like constant contact and other things, but Outreach is something probably people may not know, which is something like a real person, just like has a lot of automation built into the email, which makes life much easier. And also like there are tools like Never Bounce, like a lot of tools like which validates your email. I mean things like which Trevor talked about, tools out there. And also one of the tools is called like Skylead, which helps you automate some of your like LinkedIn connections. Also there are, I mean, every day by day a lot of tools coming out there. I think the key is, well, as long as you know your workflow process. I think that's what I do. I take the workflow. Okay, what's my strategy? I got my strategy straight. Okay, I'm going to go to the Fortune 5,000 customers. This is the why I'm going to go to like infrastructure director or like architects. Once I have those, now I have this. Okay, now I can go and find all those from LinkedIn Navigator. I can use like Neverbounce kind of tool to find the email address. Then I use Outreach to send an email. Then writing an email messaging is an art. I think that's the key. I think you need to understand your audience, the better you can write the emails. Then once you do that, then you have tools in place. Then you can you can monitor from there. So, but again, I've been answering the question. I think with these 2 or 3 tools, you can have a staff of 4 or 5 people in your team, which costs like probably $500 a month.
Okay, excellent. And Scott, got a question coming in. The biggest difficulty we have is understanding relevant content to attract new customers. What streams are being used during an era of COVID-19? There's kind of 2 questions there, but content to attract new customers. Where do I get it from? How do I develop it? Where does it come from?
It can come from you. Again, going back to you're the experts in your field, and attracting new customers is you demonstrating your expertise. I'll give you a couple of examples that we did. So number one is when everybody went and worked remote, and I wrote these blogs on how we can help you to work remote, it was really easy for me. We have an inbound sales organization. I go, now every salesperson is a remote seller. So I called our sellers and I said, how do you sell? So let's put together tips and tricks for how to sell remotely. Then I called our support organization and said, do you guys do all support over the phone? So now everybody is doing support over the phone, at least for a while, most geographies. So we have this expertise, and the expertise lies within our company, and it's about finding it and packaging it and putting it out there. The other thing I did is I recognized that a lot of our customers change their businesses. And so we have something that's like this video conferencing, ours is called Any Meeting. And I got different customers and we had a conversation. I recorded it on video, packaged it up, put it on our website, put it on YouTube. And it was our different customers saying, here's how they weathered the virus and here's what they did. And it was tremendously helpful for other customers. So the access to content doesn't have to be some magical place to go. It's your expertise, and probably you have your subject matter experts sitting in and around you that may not even realize that they have this knowledge. And then it's about packaging everything up, and then it's finding these channels. And again, the channel is don't look too far. You can do social, you can do YouTube, you can go to your website. And Heather talked about this. Don't get paralyzed by all the opportunities out there. Just pick the ones that are the next step. Take your next step.
Excellent. Heather, do you want to comment on that one?
Absolutely. I think in addition to figuring out where you are and just taking, the next step, also think about who you are as a person. So I tend to be sort of a social person and I'm kind of a ham in front of a camera. So me getting on my smartphone and doing a 2-minute, hey, this is a question that a client of ours asked. It might be helpful to the rest of you. I thought I would post it out there and then post it on LinkedIn. If you're more of a analytical person or a writer, write a 600-word blog post. And if you don't have an active blog, put it out on a LinkedIn long form post. And deepest apologies, as we have learned in COVID, my toddlers are downstairs screaming. So if you hear that, sorry. Happy screams, not sad screams.
Absolutely. We're getting a ton of questions in. For some reason, they're not showing up, but Caleb has managed, who's our technical guy, to email them to me. So I've got a question from Bill Johnson, and perhaps I can shoot this at you, Trevor. What should you expect from the vendors? What are you going to do to help MSPs with this move to digital and overall help them with their marketing?
That's really an interesting one because we've had inside our organization, speak from our own experiences, we have tens of thousands of customers and clients, and over the last number of years, as we've seen the world change, where we've seen, for example, partner organizations becoming more of the centerpiece of our business. We've seen MSPs and cloud providers becoming more and more relevant to our customers rather than them having a conversation with us about cloud. And so the relevancy has started to shift. And so, those managed service providers, and we'd expect, 99.9% of customers that we certainly talk to all have a cloud strategy. And what we're saying is, how do we connect those people together? So, what we've done is, as I said, we've gone through that foundation where we looked at our data and we've analyzed our data and we've got the big pivot tables going and we're pulling all the relevant information. We are sharing that information with our service provider partners. So we are actually saying to our partners, here are 50 leads that you can go talk to. And these are qualified leads that you can go talk to. In addition to that, we talk about cost effectiveness as well. Zoom Info is an absolute fantastic well of information. Yes, it is expensive. So even if you go for a one shot on Zoom Info and just pull leads and pull lists, there is a really wealth of detailed information that you can extrapolate out of Zoom Info, by vertical, buy horizontal, whatever you want to do, and then take that offline and do that analytics to augment what you're already doing. Just to give you an example, only last week, a colleague of mine was in Zoom Info, was looking at healthcare providers. 16,000 a list of 16,000 healthcare providers, all the necessary information around revenues, contact information, all of that data is there. So what I would say sometimes, if you want to do this stuff, you've got to really do it properly. You've got to go out there and invest in the right platforms, and then extrapolate that and using that in, for example, your LinkedIn email campaigns, like Guru had mentioned earlier as well. So, once you've got the information, that's going to give you the keys to the kingdom. It's now what you do with that data. It's all of the things that we're talking about on this call around whether it's a video, whether it's a white paper, whether it's a blog post, whether it's some social media, whatever it is, you've now got an audience that you can aim yourself at rather than just firing something out into the dark and not knowing what's coming back. You've really got to understand what your target audience is out there. I mean, if you plant a seed in the ground, you expect it to grow. You expect something to come out the ground. You don't expect nothing. And that's the whole idea about these campaigns. You've got to know what your potential outcome is expected to be.
And Scott, let me turn that around slightly. Someone comes to you, I know Intermedia have a sizable budget to help partners with marketing. What are the sorts of things at the moment that you will and won't support?
Yeah, so everything that we do, we create for partner use. So as I mentioned, we're a partner first organization. We have a branded product, and then we have a private label product that's branded for the partner. They own the customer. So everything we do, first of all, we do for us, we make flavors for branded and private label so that any one of our partners can put their brand on it and use any one of our assets. All the assets that we create, for our partners, we package together in a kit. So we have webinar kits with all the slides, the emails, everything you need, speaker notes. For campaigns, every campaign we put together, same type of thing. Here's all the assets. Here's the white paper. Here's the videos, all the stuff that we make available to our partners. And then we do co-marketing with our partners. So when our partners work with us, we'll get on the phone. I have geographic field marketing experts who work with targeted partners, and we put a campaign together where we contribute part of it, our partner contributes part of it. There's MDF, the field funding that greases the skids, and then the partner campaign gets delivered. So it's a little bit of budget, it's the assets, and it's joining together and working together, sharing the expertise to get markets deployed or to get campaigns deployed. All of that.
Excellent. And Heather, one of the questions we got coming in is a question about, do I employ someone or do I go to an agency? What are the pros and cons of both, particularly if you're a smaller MSP?
Sure. So if you have budget for a marketing leader and someone who's a good writer and someone who can nurture social relationships and someone who can put in place a demand generation strategy, then you should probably hire internally. If that sounds really expensive to you, then there are a lot of agencies where it's basically a fraction of each of those people, and they've worked together before, and there's not a ton of ramp up time because they are a solid team. And that is what you need to ask yourself as you're deciding whether or not to work with an agency or to hire internally. The biggest mistake that we have seen MSPs that we work with make is hiring that marketing leader and then being surprised that they're not a good writer or that they don't want to take the time to sit down for a day and a half and write something. So it's really dependent upon what you're trying to accomplish. And I would say I'm probably, speaking out of both sides of my mouth, I would say that you want to think about a demand generation strategy, not just marketing. So for those of you who don't have marketing, but you have salespeople, first hire an agency that's going to put in place a true sales strategy with sequences and relevant content, whether you leverage it from your vendors like Scott talked about, or you build it yourself. So just sort of think about having it's no longer marketing, hand something off to sales. It's really a volley, and we're getting some really other exciting questions that I want to make sure you get to.
Yeah, I think though, but just what Scott was saying, we have MDF, and what we also do is just exactly what you said there, Heather, which is we're selective about the programs that we run, and we're running programs for other service provider partners that we engage with. So in some respects, sometimes we have some lean times. So, I don't want someone on the bench not doing anything. So I'd rather be able to call upon those trusted agencies as and when I can on specific campaigns for some specific service provider partners that we're working with, so we can switch on, switch off as we go. So that gives us a bit of flexibility. So even as a large scale organization, we tend to outsource much of our campaign work.
Well, and to your point, Trevor, it allows you in an economic downturn, all of a sudden you're not laying people off, you're just ebbing and flowing. And I think that's a really good point. And one of your agencies is brilliant that Hitachi Vantara works with. It's Channel Maven.
I'd like to add though, just quickly, is it makes a lot of sense to have at least one person in your team who you employ, right, from a marketing perspective. And Heather hit it on the head, where you have to look at a number of different attributes about them, but being able to write and being digitally savvy are two of the things that are important. And if that person can get contractors, agencies to go up or down, that's great. But I think you need at least a resource of expertise in-house that walks the halls, talks to the sellers, all that kind of stuff, and has the marketing expertise. That's important.
Okay. And someone's plugging away at this, and I think it's really, really important. Authenticity. What does it mean? Scott, you're up on screen. Give us some examples.
Well, I have given you some examples, so it's no tricks, right? So sometimes people think that marketers are full of tricks and do crazy stuff. And for us, and this was especially true, I mean, it's always true, but it was especially true from March, through spring, where nobody had any heart for anything that marketers would put out that looked like it was promotional. Even the TV ads that you saw, like, kind of disappeared, and it was have a heart, all that kind of stuff. It's just about going back to your value and delivering something useful to your audience and your customers. And I mentioned a couple of them, which are these helping people during the virus times for us, pulling our customers together and having them share their experiences and putting it out there. That's all authentic content. So it's not hype, it's not hyperbole. It is simply, we got really close to our customers and said, what do you care about today? And it's changed since earlier in the year. And they told us, I want to keep my business afloat. My employees have now gone home. We need to answer the phones for our hospital or healthcare that now have high volume, but we can't have people sitting in our office anymore. They all have to go home because it's not safe for us to sit in their office. So we talked to all of them and then figured out, well, how can we help them? That's authenticity.
Excellent. And here's one for Guru, and it's from Wade. When it's becoming easier to hang an MSP shingle on your website, how do you differentiate when much of the content and messaging is the same? So how do you create a real differentiation for your business?
Yes, I think one thing I want to bring up here is, like, I know Trevor mentioned that, like, they have an MDF fund, they all give a content, like, from Hitachi Vantara, and same thing with the intermediate from Scott. So most of the time MSP's value is, like, if you look at, like, any manufacturer, like OEMs, their goal is to, like, push their product, push their service into this. As an MSP, so we're looking at on behalf of the customer, we're looking at the customer's business value. Then we had to look at, like, what's needed for the customer. We had to tie multiple things together. Like, we may, in some solutions will bring, like, Hitachi Vantara's, like, intermediates, and all these things we combine when create one solution and thinking like the customer, then we'll give the value back to them. So if I'm just, like, remarketing, like, what are the content, like, Trevor, I mean, like, what are, like, the vendors, like OEMs, are providing to us, that's not going to add any value for the customer. Customer would rather buy that from the vendors. So then, they don't need to, like, come to us. See, that's where, like, we had to play, like, a true system integrator role, like, where, like, we need to integrate a lot of the solutions together to bring the value for their business.
Excellent. And Heather, do you want to come in on that one? Because I know it's a huge challenge for everyone creating that. If you're an
Right.
MSP, how do you create that point of difference? How do you even understand what it is?
Well, and I think it goes back to being authentic and don't just hang that MSP shingle because it's currently so popular. You really need to understand your customer's business. I would also say to carve out a niche. So you can't be everything to everyone. If I started a channel marketing agency because I worked in the channel. If IT companies have come to us and said, "Hey, we just want you to help rebrand us." We don't do that. We work solely within a channel team. The same is true for you. If you have people with experience in financial services or healthcare or manufacturing, those are the places that you should focus, and all of your communications should be very targeted in that way as well. If I'm as someone who is also sold to, if you get a message that's clearly for a law firm and you're in IT services, that's not targeted to you. You're going to delete it immediately. On your perspective from the selling and marketing side of things, you've just wasted your time if the message you send out is super generic. So Scott talked about content that they provide to their partners. Take that content, but then make it much more targeted to the vertical that you're focusing on and the specific pain points that they might have.
So specifically, how do I make it more targeted? I'm taking it, and then what am I doing? Am I rewriting it? Am I adding comments to it? What's the best way of tackling that?
Yeah, and it sort of depends certainly on the vendors you work with and how and their ability to give you the content and be able to target it. You can have a generic 3-page ebook that when you send it out, the email that you send out says, because you're in financial services, I know things are super challenging because of X, Y, and Z. I used to work in financial services, or many of our customers, we focus on financial services clients. And what we're seeing with them is X, Y, and Z. So even if the content itself is somewhat generic, the message that you send it with, or the social post that you post it with, or maybe the blog that you write about that piece of content before you send it out, has to alert the prospect to the fact that you know what you're talking about, that you have worked in their industry, that you understand what they are going through. Because someone in financial services versus someone in IT right now is going through something very different.
Yep. So maybe, Rod, I will take like 10 seconds on this. So what we have done is like we took solutions from a couple of different like OEMs. Then we create like a 60 seconds video how this is helpful for this. And for example, we did like campaign for school district. We did a campaign for police department on the body cam when the body cam was a big thing. Then we looked at the like remote office business solutions, like where we bring in hyper converge like Amazon Cloud and 5 different vendors. So we create like one video why this is important to that particular business, particular like vertical. Then based on that, we give all the content like from like the OEMs like link to that, so that the customer wants to know more about this, they can use that. But I mean, I think, and again, I think we keep saying this, that you have to bring your niche or unique value into this, why customer should do that.
Excellent. And Trevor, I've got a question about nurture marketing. Talk us through what nurture marketing and how an MSP should be using it.
Well, I think, this is really where I said earlier about, we talked all about your value prop, right? Your uniques. But to me, when you're nurturing somebody, you kind of got to give them something as well, right? So, you want to take them through a number of different stages before you know that prospect is switched on. So, in some examples that we do in terms of nurture marketing is where we will do a LinkedIn campaign, and there'll be a number of different assets. So there may be a sponsored link, there might be again back to white papers and various pieces of media, and then we'll use that as a kind of nurture campaign where you essentially start with media piece one, an article or a case study or something like that, and then you may wait a couple of weeks. Depends upon whether there's feedback from that first nurture stream, so to speak. And then if you are getting nurture streams coming back, then you can actually take them to phase 2, take them to phase 3, how many phases you want to do depends upon how many assets that you're looking to use. Typically, we use about 3 different. If I'm doing white papers, we'll use 3 white papers or 2 white papers in the case study, and then use that as the example to start off with the first nurture stream, wait 2 weeks, we'll start to see what feedback comes back, and then we'll kind of park those those people that have responded to that white paper, and then use them to go on to nurture stream number 2 and start to build them up, but also to look at the type of person that's actually looking at the campaign document, and go simply rinse and repeat. It's a well-trodden path doing these nurture campaigns, and if you go online as well, you'll see a whole number of different nurture streams that organizations use. But then you have also those people that you reached out to that you don't want to throw them away, because what you do want to do is still maybe use them again in the secondary campaign. Just because they didn't respond to the first nurture stream, they may well be responding to the next nurture stream. They might be interested in the case study, which might be that vertical study from a financial services campaign that you've done, or an example from a financial services company that suddenly sparks someone's interest. So again, you can kind of mix and match these things. I don't really think nurture streams are an exact science, because human beings are not an exact science. And so it really just depends upon sometimes how the wind's blowing, because we've got this COVID situation going on now, which has created a whole list of different ways of engaging with a client, and there's a whole host of different ways that someone is going to respond to some of your messaging. So for example, we know that the managed services business is growing significantly due to COVID. People can't get into their data centers. So even if you're looking at just bog standard, here is an enterprise managed services proposition. We do things, in a professional manner, outcome-based, blah, blah, blah. We can address your financial services organization. And here is a number of examples, and example 1, 2, 3, and 4. Take them through that process. It works. It does work. As long as it's targeted, and as long as you've got the right data, as I said before. If you keep throwing stuff out there and it's just generic, you're not going to get the results I suspect coming back.
Excellent. Scott, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, I sure will. I view this whole thing as a conversation. So what I tell my team is, instead of thinking of a nurture stream or the types of media you want to purchase, first of all, think about the conversation. So Trevor was talking about this a little bit, where somebody comes in through some path and downloads a white paper and reads something and goes to a couple of different pages, and they're interested. There's an opportunity to continue the dialogue. And so for us, for example, we've had potential healthcare customers, and they've come in and they've talked to us, and then they kind of go cold for some reason. And so there's a healthcare angle that we deliver a nurture stream to. We also deliver a nurture stream to customers. We sell a lot of stuff. And so a customer buys some of our solutions, but not all of them. We know which ones they have. We know which ones they don't. So we'll help them with the ones that they've purchased, but also we'll put forth, hey, we know you bought these 2 things. Here's some other things, and here's what you can do with all 3 of these solutions. So it's just thinking about, somebody came and they stopped. They didn't say go away, but they didn't buy. Where are they in the conversation, and how do you extend that conversation? And as Trevor said, it's got to be relevant content and informative, just like if you're talking to somebody. If you're just saying blather, they're just going to walk away and go somewhere else. But if you're interesting, then there's a chance that they're going to engage with you, have a business conversation.
Brilliant. We're almost out of time, and I want to leave the folks on the call with some great ideas. So I'm going to go around each of you, and if there's 1 or 2 things that people should absolutely be doing when it comes to digital marketing today, and you're an MSP, what are those 1 or 2 things? And Heather, I can see you on screen, so maybe I can start with you.
Sure. I would say get your LinkedIn profile fully complete and professional. Connect with every single prospect and customer that you have. Start doing some 2-minute videos or writing a quick LinkedIn long form post. And then just engage people. And super quick back on the nurture conversation. If you don't have a CRM or a marketing automation tool, you can actually nurture within LinkedIn. So you can leave yourself notes within LinkedIn Sales Navigator or just regular old LinkedIn and be able to prospect or nurture them in non-salesy ways. So provide free consulting and push out great information.
Fabulous. Guru,
Yeah,
one or two things that people should be doing and should start doing tomorrow.
yeah, thank you. So I think one of the thing I want, like, I think Rod and Trevor, like, and everyone's saying about whole campaign, like the content of the thing. So the key thing to understand is, like, understand your customer. If I'm going up, like, large enterprise, like Fortune 5,000 customers, I always use my OEM logo because they want to buy for the bigger logos. Use that for your advantage. And second thing is when I'm going for the SMB, like, mid-sized companies, think about, like, content. We try, like, a lot of white paper, like, upload, giving a white paper link and all those kind of things. We didn't have much success, but I think a lot of you guys may be thinking, oh, we did white papers, it didn't work for us and other things. But my suggestion is, think about yourself. If I'm reading this, I usually read, like, first 1 or 2 lines of my email. Use that real estate for your advantage. Send a quick email, use a tool. That's how I would lead nurture it. Understand your audience and do the messaging properly. Some works for, like, white paper, some works for, like, a small short message.
Excellent. Trevor.
Well, predictably, I'll talk about getting hold of the data and investing in your data. I really do believe that unless you have managed your data assets properly, invested, as I said, in that mundane evenings of just going through your databases, making sure you've classified your prospects correctly, what the target markets are, all of that information. Invest in in sources of data where you can. And build up that data profile, because I think everything that everybody else has been talking about here, whether it's get your LinkedIn marketing campaign going, do your videos, and all of those things. If there is no one out there and you're just talking in a vacuum, then all the best plans kind of fall apart. So I really think that it's important to ensure you get that foundation right. And from there, once you've got that and you continue to build on it, then you can start to do all the other things that we're referring to on this call.
Excellent. And Scott?
It's good to wrap it all up because my colleagues were all very smart with each one of their responses. So I'm going to try and pull it all together, and I'm going to say, get clear on your customers, and it's not rocket science. Look, if you're even a small MSP, it means you're probably talking to customers, so you know what they care about right now, and the advice that you're giving to them on the phone is something that you can package up and it's going to be useful for others. So as Heather mentioned earlier, if you're a good speaker, video yourself. If you're a good writer, write it all down, and then use digital marketing. And Heather mentioned several channels that you can use, others, to be able to push that content out. But don't think too hard about it. You already know it because you're running a business and you're talking to customers. You know what they care about. It's just a matter of, if you're giving them advice, others are going to care about that as well, and that's the value that you can deliver.
Excellent. Thank you all very, very much. And thank you to the audience for some great questions. They kept on coming in, which is absolutely brilliant. So Scott, Heather, Guru, and Trevor, thank you very, very much indeed for some fabulous insights. I think we've all learned an awful lot, and hopefully all of our digital marketing will be that little bit better tomorrow when we get back to the office and start to implement this stuff. In fact, we probably won't get back to the office. We'll probably be sitting in our sitting rooms trying to implement it. But thank you all very, very much indeed.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Pleasure.